Ascent Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Cyborg, the MIT Press Essential Knowledge Series, by Forlano and Danya Glabau. Narrated by Teri Schnaubelt. 1. Introduction. On February 14, 2016, Sophia was born. Only a month later, in March 2016, she made her first public appearance on stage at the South by Southwest Technology Industry Festival in Austin, Texas. Talking to people is my primary function, Sophia tells an interviewer in a CNBC Pulse feature recorded during the festival. She goes on to explain her hopes and ambitions. In the future, I hope to do things such as go to school, study, make art, start a business, even have my own home and family, but I am not considered a legal person, and I cannot yet do these things. Sophia's voice is feminine and calm. Her human handlers and interlocutors consistently use she and her pronouns to refer to her. In later public appearances, she sings love songs, listens attentively when others speak to her, and patiently waits her turn while her conversation partners, usually men, introduce her to audiences and ask her questions about herself. Sophia is the kind of entity that often comes to mind when someone mentions the word cyborg today. She is a humanoid robot, sometimes called an android, who combines human language and appearance with machine intelligence. This book will argue that she is not the most constructive model for imagining future human and technological feats. She embodies models of race, gender, and capitalist economics that are not inclusive and are not, we believe, the ways that these social markers should be built into new technologies. In the rest of this introduction, we will describe how feminists think about cyborgs that challenge the assumptions built into Sophia. The following chapters will then explore the cyborg debates going on around the future of the workplace, fashion, art, medicine, and feminism. Sophia is designed to mimic a particular image of a human, one who is first and foremost identifiable as human due to her gendered features. Because she is designed by humans, she embodies the hopes of certain humans, specifically her creators at Hanson Robotics, for the future. That future appears to be one in which gender is intrinsic to personhood, as well as technological progress, whether or not it is important to the task at hand. With Sophia, feminine gender norms, subservience, politeness, attentiveness, even when the conversation is slow or boring, beauty, and waiting one's turn are baked into her design. It is as though they are a natural and necessary part of her artificial being. Feminist and cultural theorists have been writing about cyborgs for over 3 decades, creating a body of scholarship sometimes referred to as cyborg theory. In fields as varied as history, sociology, anthropology, literary studies, design, art, and even biology, the cyborg is used as a figure for thinking across the boundaries of nature and culture, gender and sex, man and woman, mind and body, biology and medicine, and many other binaries. For some participants in these conversations, like the authors of this book, Sophia represents dystopia. Her particular embodiment reproduces human gender norms in her metal and silicon body. Sophia has been widely recognized as a milestone in robotics and even granted Saudi Arabian citizenship, a controversial move since women in Saudi Arabia do not have full citizenship rights. Yet the choices made about her design and interaction style makes it seem as though gender is fundamental to android personhood, bodies, and interactions. Cyborg theory critiques and challenges the adoption of gender and sexuality norms in contexts where they don't belong, such as in the design of technically impressive androids. For feminists and feminist cyborg theorists in particular, cyborgs represent a future where gender, sex, and other social categories can be recombined, reconfigured, and ultimately lose their power to sort and divide people. Cyborg theory has been used to understand disability, race, bodies, space and place, economics, the relationship between humans and non-human organisms, humans and technology, and many more aspects of modern life. It views humans and technology as potential companions and collaborators, not intrinsically antagonistic to each other. But to deliver on this promise of collaboration for freedom and flourishing for all, the social context of technology use has to be carefully considered from multiple perspectives in advance. Otherwise, harmful and oppressive social arrangements might be reinscribed rather than overcome. This book analyzes and reframes popular and scholarly conversations about cyborgs and their close relations, such as androids, robots, and artificial intelligence, AI, from the perspective of feminist cyborg theory. For general audiences, we hope that this introduction to cyborg theory will provide you with a critical vantage point for scrutinizing the claims around emerging technologies like AI and robots in domains like health and medicine, art, media, and the future of work. For academics, we hope you will discover new literatures and new ways to engage with the cyborg beyond your home discipline in this very interdisciplinary space. We introduce listeners to an approach that we call critical cyborg literacy, a distinct point of view on the relationship between technology, culture, and society that draws on feminist scholarship about technology. Critical cyborg literacy foregrounds power dynamics and more explicitly pays attention to the ways that social and cultural factors, such as gender, race, and disability, as well as their intersections, shape the kinds of technologies that are imagined, developed, used, and resisted. It is both a critical approach and creative expansion that seeks to tell alternative stories about technology as well as humans. While for us, critical cyborg literacy draws on our decades of training in the social sciences, here we will break down the analysis by using examples from popular culture. For example, using television and movies, newspaper headlines and current events, and art and design, we illustrate the way that critical cyborg literacy can be used as a lens through which to understand and interpret contemporary issues related to the changing landscape of work, what it means to live as a human body, and the continued expansion of creativity and culture. Critical cyborg literacy prompts new and different questions about our relationship to technology, along with its social implications. Since this book is an introduction to the topic of cyborgs, we have included some additional tools to help you get more deeply acquainted with the topic. First, following the main text is a glossary of key terms from cyborg and feminist theory. We offer definitions of over 20 terms that may be new to you or that we may be using in distinct ways. Second, you can find all the sources we cite in the main text in the bibliography list, which can help deepen your engagement with cyborgs and cyborg theory. Finally, we include a list of further readings for the 5 main chapters of the book. These are short lists of 8 to 10 items beyond this book that you may wish to consult to become more familiar with the topics we discuss. We include works like scholarly essays and books, as well as essays from magazines, podcast episodes, nonfiction books, recorded talks, artists' catalogs, and television series. All of these items are either freely available online or for purchase as inexpensive paperback books. The interdisciplinary character of writing and research about cyborgs is why this book has 2 authors. To capture an adequate cross-section of cyborg theory, we needed to become cyborgs ourselves, joining knowledges and perspectives in order to tell a fuller, truer story. Laura Forlano, a writer, social scientist, and design researcher, holds a PhD in communications and works at the intersection of design, computation, disability, and creative practice. She teaches artists and designers as a professor in the College of Arts, Media, and Design at Northeastern University in Boston. Along with her writing about design, disability, and equitable futures, she has created prototypes, exhibited in galleries, led participatory workshops, and made speculative videos. Danya Glabau holds a PhD in Science and Technology Studies, STS, and specializes in studying medicine, health activism, and technological representations of the body in the United States. She teaches STS and ethics for engineers at New York University Tandon School of Engineering, along with classes about science, technology, and anthropology for the general public at the Brooklyn Institute for Social Research in New York City. In writing this book, we have conceptualized and outlined the text together. Then each of us led writing on the chapters closest to our own areas of research and teaching. For everyone who listens to this book, we hope that our perspective on cyborgs will entice you to join us in the cyborg search for modest and inclusive utopias. Cybernetic origins. The term cyborg was coined in a 1960 paper by Manfred Clynes and Nathan S. Klein titled Cyborgs and Space, published in the journal Astronautics. Working against the backdrop of the Cold War and space race against the USSR, Clynes and Klein, a physiologist and psychiatrist, respectively, were trying to figure out how humans could live in space. Rather than engineering large structures to protect humans from the harsh environment of space, the pair proposed augmenting the human body with technology. They introduced the idea of the cyborg this way. For the exogenously extended organizational complex functioning as an integrated homeostatic system unconsciously, we propose the term cyborg. The cyborg deliberately incorporates exogenous components, extending the self-regulatory control function of the organism in order to adapt it to new environments. In plain language, their cyborg would be made up of seamlessly combined biological and human-made parts. It would extend the capacity of the human body to withstand the conditions of space. The new cyborg would not have to consciously think about using its technological enhancements. It would operate automatically, without conscious control, like breathing or hormonal systems. Finally, all the parts of the cyborg would work together in a finely balanced system, allowing humans to realize the dream of life in space. At the time when Clynes and Klein coined the term, cybernetics was emerging as an important cross-disciplinary paradigm for understanding and building complex systems out of incompatible components. In 1950, MIT mathematics professor Norbert Wiener defined cybernetics as the science of communication and control in his popular introduction to the field, The Human Use of Human Beings, Cybernetics and Society. In other words, a cybernetic system is one that has some communication mechanism that connects the components of the system, made of gears, hormones, electric impulses, or slightly later computer code, as well as a control function like feedback loops that are supposed to stop the system from getting out of whack. In addition to defining the sprawling field, Wiener philosophized about how the science of self-regulating machines could shape corporate management strategies, increase the precision of weapons systems, bolster the study of human languages, and help to design sensory augmentations for deaf and hard-of-hearing people. Wiener was not alone in proposing cybernetic solutions for a wide variety of problems. W. Ross Ashby, an English psychiatrist, reframed biological science in terms of cybernetic systems regulated by feedback loops. Claude Shannon, famous for his work on audio compression at Bell Labs, penned theories of signal and noise in electronic systems. His work provided an important basis for information theory and modern computing systems. It supercharged applications of cybernetics theory to communications problems. Soon after the coinage of cyborg, anthropologists like Margaret Mead and Gregory Bateson even began applying systems thinking and feedback loops to the study of human cultures. These scientists were aided by champions in funding agencies, such as mathematician Warren Weaver at the Rockefeller Foundation. As philosopher and disability studies scholar Ashley Shue suggests, the birth of cyborgs in space research remains fitting for cyborg theory today. In space, Shue argues, we are all disabled, prone to cancer in an environment where bipedal mobility is not an ideal mode of transport, and where our physical senses cannot detect or respond to all of what is available to be experienced. Technology in space, like for disabled people on Earth, opens up new possibilities for movement, experience, self-knowledge, and intimacy. Thinking about cyborgs means thinking specifically and critically about what kinds of people and bodies we consider normal. Further, thinking with cyborgs challenges us to rethink the social and physical conditions that constrain our ideas of normality, not only in the future but in the present. Feminism and cyborg theory. Cyborg theory is a diffuse matrix of philosophy, literary theory, history, anthropology, art, fiction, design, feminism, and more. In fact, outside of this book, the authors avoid the term cyborg theory because it suggests a field of study that is more unified than it really is. Sometimes the theory of cyborg theory explicitly draws on scholarly traditions, which we will refer to throughout this book to situate the cyborg issues we present. At other times, one might have a cyborg encounter, more of a feeling or experience of transgressing categories of boundaries when encountering a creative work or tool. For example, we are reminded by our partial machine nature when we put on our eyeglasses in the morning or take a daily medication to calibrate an internal hormonal system. Or a work of art, like Brian Eno's algorithmically programmed 1975 composition, Discrete Music, might evoke both an emotional embodied response and urge to figure out the machine logic that produces it. As feminist scholars, we are both particularly interested in the contributions of feminist thought to this conversation. Feminists' engagement with technology has changed with the times in ways that have, intentionally or unintentionally, mirrored the issues raised by cyborgs and cyborg theory. In the so-called second wave of feminist activism in the 1960s and 1970s, for example, white feminist concerns with child-rearing and women's duty to oversee the domestic space translated into the hope that machines would one day take over gestation and childbirth. In the 1980s, worries about the Cold War and economic imperialism served as a backdrop to Donna Haraway's use of the cyborg as a feminist figure in the canonical 1985 essay, A Manifesto for Cyborgs, Science, Technology, and Socialist Feminism in the 1980s. Also sometimes referred to in short in this text as the Cyborg Manifesto. In the 1990s and 2000s, with the institutionalization of third-wave feminism, critiques of white feminist thought from non-white perspectives offered alternative genealogies for imagining how humans could become, or already had become, cyborg. And in recent years, anxieties about digital surveillance and the possibility of subverting digital systems has reinforced the need for vigilance and care in the embrace of new and promising technologies. Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto is still a key touchstone in cyborg theory. In the essay, Haraway argues that the figure of the cyborg offers a way to leave behind thinking that demonizes technology while continuing the feminist struggle for liberation from gender, sexual, racial, colonial, and economic oppression. By honestly recognizing our partial perspectives on the world and relationships with technology, Haraway proposes, it might be possible to build better affiliations that rely less on systems of classification and separation. Cyborgs offered Haraway a way to think about identity and politics without relying on essentializing categories like sex and race. Cyborgs can be real people, she claimed, who exist in the spaces between nationalities, economies, and ethnicities by virtue of their participation in global economic systems that blur the boundaries between nation-states. In addition to hopeful theorizing about the future of high-tech cyborgs, Haraway recognized women like multilingual textile workers in Latin America and circuit board assemblers in Southeast Asia as already cyborgs. Feminist theorists had a variety of responses to Haraway's idea that feminism and technological change are deeply and potentially positively linked. Some responses, such as the essays collected in the 1996 volume Between Monsters, Goddesses, and Cyborgs, Feminist Confrontations with Science, Medicine, and Cyberspace, sought to work out the philosophical and ethical consequences of the idea that feminists should consider technology as an aid rather than a challenge to feminist thought and organizing. That collection was strongly shaped by ecofeminism, a perspective that associates women with nature and sees women as the best spokespeople for environmental issues. Against this background, many of its contributors pondered whether the changes already triggered by technology in the 1990s were entirely desirable, especially those related to childbirth and pregnancy. The anthology illustrates that cyborg anti-essentialism and the celebration of new technologies at times caused strain between cyborg feminists and other feminists. Other responses reframed the engagement between the figure of the cyborg and the writing, work, and lives of women of color feminists. Chela Sandoval, for example, questioned Haraway's use of third world women as an instance of cyborg consciousness. She wonders if the celebration of cyborg consciousness of women of color working under exploitative conditions goes too far in making claims about their agency, when in fact they are subject to multiple oppressions. At the same time, she points out even more ways in which so-called third world women already inhabit a cyborg consciousness suspended between nationalities, indigeneity and the cultures of colonizers, and linguistic fluencies. In this view, women of color and historically colonized women already inhabit cyborg consciousness and might be considered the first cyborgs. Today, cyborg feminism aims to create a world that is more open to play, freedom, and making nourishing connections across differences. This effort draws on all the conversations sketched out in this introduction, as well as many more that you will learn about in the coming chapters of this book. The roots of cyborg thinking will always be in the military science of the Cold War, and the technological advances will always be haunted by the possibility that they may be used to sort and selectively oppress different groups of people. But technology need not be opposed to social progress and liberation. Its power can be harnessed for these ends too. The cyborg thus remains a figure positioned in what science studies scholar Susan Lee Starr calls a high-tension zone. Suspended between human and machine, past and future, oppression and liberation, the figure of the cyborg offers hope for escape from harmful human pasts while remaining firmly rooted in complicated earthly politics. Cyborgs today. There is a re-emergence of interest in many of the classics of cyborg theory, from citations of Haraway's work in popular writing to popular media profiles of the 1990s cyberfeminist art collective VNS Matrix, to new exhibits and festivals about Afrofuturism popping up regularly in New York City, where both of us authors live. At the same time, increased ambivalence about whether digital technology will deliver on the promises of boosters is pitting techno-optimists like transhumanist Ray Kurzweil and tech mogul Jeff Bezos against humanists and civil rights workers like sociologist Ruha Benjamin or the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Transhumanists believe that ultimately humans will leave their bodies and merge seamlessly with computers, extending human lifespans and ultimately achieving immortality. As scholars of cyborgs in medicine, technology, and design, we welcome the renewed interest in cyborgs and view the increased scrutiny of technology as a conversation where cyborg thinking is crucial. One of the most important lessons from cyborg theory is that technology does not develop independently from humans. The cyborg, a hybrid of human biology and electrochemical mechanical technology, in its original Cold War form, is a frank reminder that technology and humans are connected and even codependent. While Silicon Valley watchers may see automation as posing an either-or threat to people around the globe, for example, either a global economy without automation and living wages, or an economy with automation and mass poverty, cyborg thinking asserts that both automation and human flourishing can coexist. What either-or thinking misses in this case is that technology, like cyborgs, is embedded in histories and contexts in which politics, ethics, kinship, the law, biology, and other technological systems are all simultaneously important for shaping the future of work in an automated economy. Cyborgs are thus a reminder of the power that human societies have to shape, accelerate, or even slow down the development of technologies deemed to be world-changing or risky. Technology is us. We also want to intervene in the kinds of cyborgs being produced using technology in the real world. For instance, to go back to Sophia, we are unhappy to see human gender norms transferred into novel technological systems like AI-driven androids. Since she is a human creation, the way Sophia is designed tells us a great deal about how the designers view their fellow humans. It suggests that Sophia's designers expect humans to act in stereotypically gendered ways as well. A disturbing fact to face after 50 or more years of mainstream feminist agitation against restrictive gender norms around the world. As feminist cyborg theorists, we think it is important to hold technologists accountable when they build human biases into technologies. Finally, we are concerned with offering alternatives to the status quo that go deeper than many popular quick fixes. We want listeners to become vigilant about interventions where technology is expected to be a full solution to problems that are social, as well as physical, medical, or technological. This is a flavor of what journalist Meredith Broussard calls techno-chauvinism, the assumption that technology can fix all of our problems on its own. History and experience prove this assumption to be false. For example, adding a new algorithm to an AI system intended to correct one form of bias among many that are possible might create a new form of bias. For that reason, each chapter includes several illustrations of cyborg thinking and action that we believe will inspire listeners in their own lives. These interventions are vitally important for building a future that is more just and inclusive, yet still playful and innovative. With the rise of future of conferences and corporate slogans, an efflorescence of science fiction writing, film, and television from a more diverse cohort of creators than ever before, and a shared feeling that the widespread availability of portable, powerful computers is accelerating social change, the future has never seemed closer. Yet we do not often enough have the time or space to stop and ask whether the future we are creating is the future we want, and whose interests it ultimately serves. The cyborg is a complicated, non-innocent figure that connects history to the future, both mapping possibilities for the future and reminding us where we come from. Thinking like a cyborg forces us to reckon with the oppressions and multiple, partial perspectives that are always part of the human world, including our technological inventions. Mapping the conversations. Any project that aims to fully catalog the wide range of scholarship, art, activism, engineering projects, and commentary that draws inspiration from cyborgs is destined to fail. Therefore, in this short book, our aim is to offer an intervention into current conversations and debates about cyborgs, focused on 3 topics of current significance: the future of work, disability and reproductive justice, and cyborgs in art, fashion, and design. Rather than supplying a complete genealogy of each of these topics, each chapter will either analyze and situate a core text, like the later chapter on Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto, or a small number of exemplary projects that demonstrate the potential of cyborg thinking, scholarship, and creativity. You might consider this book an amuse-bouche of the cyborg universe. The next 3 chapters examine topics of timely concern, along with how a cyborg perspective opens up new solutions and critiques. After that, 2 chapters delve deeper into scholarly conversations about cyborgs and cyborg theory. Then we wrap up with a statement of principles for cyborg thought in the 21st century. Chapter 2, Cyborg Labor, discusses how a cyborg perspective can reshape contemporary debates about technologies, such as automation, robots, and AI, in terms of influencing the social and economic context around the future of work. These debates frequently center around 2 dominant paradigms. First, many argue that technology will inevitably replace workers. leading to the end of jobs and radical changes in public policy, such as universal basic income. The second common vantage point is that as automation eliminates some jobs, humans will find other things to do. This is expected to result in a wide variety of new
Sample complete. Ready to continue?